problem. I'm not sure what is the reason. Sorry for that. Yeah, sorry. You're asking something. Someone was asking something. Sorry for that.
Yeah, about that Visual Studio Enterprise subscription.
Okay. That is some corporate subscription which I have. So I'm using that. Okay. So test I'll use, and storage account name I'll use Azure DE. It's already taken because it's universally validated. So something will use. So we have standard and premium. We have two accounts. So standard, I was saying, recommend for most scenarios, general purpose V2, and premium for that requires low latency. So premium will have less latency, but when you have like a V2 account, you'll use for the standard. So the standard costs less. So let's go for the standard. And redundancy. So we also spoke about redundancy. If you remember that, so we have LRS, GRS and all. When you say premium, okay, it will show based on the page blobs, it will show various options. Okay, so I'll go for the, sorry.
1 minute,
Yeah.
Purushottam. So last time you told us LRS, GRS, and another two, total four redundancy, right?
Yes.
So here it shows only two, or is this specific for depends on resources or depends on region?
No, it's depends upon the region and resources also.
Okay.
So usually it shows everything. Yeah. So
Yes.
here I
Okay.
showed that East Asia, East US, that will
Okay.
shows everything.
It depends on region.
Yes. So I'll go for the basic thing because it's not a production environment or it's not an application just for stay this one. I don't want to waste any money. So I'll go for the LRS. Okay. I'll go for the standard. I'll go for the
You can
advanced.
change the region
Yes.
before creating.
Yes.
No, initially you selected South India. Now
Yes.
you selected East US.
Yes. Just a matter of selection only, right? I can do anything.
Okay.
So I'm in the basic East Asia. Let's go for advanced. So these are security. Okay. So enable block public access, enable storage account key access. We'll talk about that. So TLS, this is a TLS version for sharing. So version 1.2. Okay. Now here is the key thing. Okay. So blob storage, enable network file share. So I'll tell you what is this. So in the advanced topic, there is something called enable hierarchical namespace. If you see here, this is basically used for the data lake Gen 2. So when you create a blob storage, you can opt for whether you want to go for the regular blob storage or data lake storage. Okay. In the regular blob storage, the storage will be flat. Okay. The storage namespace will be flat, storage will be there. Okay. Whereas in the data lake, it will be hierarchical namespace. Okay. Same like your a folder structure in the Windows Explorer. In the Windows, you'll create folders. Under the folders, again, you can create the folders. Then under the folders, you can upload the files, right? You can do all, you can segregate, you can organize your data in terms of folders and all, right? So there is a hierarchical namespace. So in the data lake storage supports a hierarchical namespace. Okay, so basically when you go for this hierarchical namespace, is used for big data index. Okay, enable file level access control list. In the sense, say suppose you have a 10 files, you can give access at the file level. So suppose you have an account, if that folder has 10 files and you want to control the access each and every file to separate a set of users, separate set of groups, that you can control the access. Okay, so but usually when you load the load the data in the big data index, usually you go for the data lake storage Gen 2 only, because because of its hierarchical namespace and because of its supported performance is efficiently used for the big data analytics. Okay, in the sense, what I can do, say suppose I have a data. Okay, I can get the data from multiple sources and put it in the data lake group. Okay, from the data lake group, so either I'll transform the data. Okay, I'll transform the data and put it in the database, or I can keep the data at the data lake itself. I will stop it over there. So what I can do, the business users, okay, the data scientists can consume the data directly from the data lake itself. So it's not a mandatory thing saying that I need to store the data into the database. Maybe I might not have discussed this earlier, but in the say suppose in the my previous project which I was doing for one of the application, we did not use any database. We just took the data, modified the, we just ingest the data with the data factory. We updated the data with our data bricks. Okay, then we stored the data back to again to the same data lake storage. Okay, data lake account only. So we did not use any database. So data scientists use it to capture or access the data directly from the data data lake and use it for their machine learning mechanism. Got it? Any doubt? So data lake is very such powerful. So in most of the projects, they will use only data lake itself. Though like based on the requirement, they won't go for the database itself, because if they have like limited storage or limited limited access or limited resources, limited usage. Okay, so at exam point of view also, it is very important. What is the option that you would choose when you convert a blob into the data lake storage Gen 2? So the storage is enabling hierarchical namespace. Okay, so there is nothing called creating a data lake storage specifically. Okay, the same blob only you will create. The only difference would be in advanced options, you will enable the hierarchical namespace. Got it? So now I am not doing anything with the data lake, so I won't do that. Okay, so you let me use it. And here, see here, access tiers hot and cool. Hot is frequently accessed data and day-to-day usage scenarios. Cool, infrequently accessed data and backup scenarios. So you might have heard, you might have seen in my previous session. So we spoke about the hot tiers and cool tiers. So what is hot tier? So whenever you want to access some data, say suppose you have day-to-day data, some master data, which you will access every day. Okay, then you will make the data into the, you will make that account into the hot. Okay, say suppose you want to store the data, some backup. Say suppose you have like a last year data. Okay, you don't use every day, very regular intervals, but still you want to preserve the data, then you will use that at the cool. Okay, but usually when you access the data regularly, you'll go for the cool, hot. But hot is costs more because you're accessing every day, and because of that, so it needs to have separate storage mechanism, so the costing also will be more. And cool, as there will be a delay in the accessing. Okay, so there definitely there will be a less cost compared to the hot. So I'll go for the cool here because I don't mind in any lag in the access. I don't want to spend much money over here. All right, and you might have asked, so why we are not using, why we don't see archive over here? Because archive mechanism will be applied at the file level, not at the account level. So this is also one of the question at the exam point of view. Archive is not applied, not selected at the account level. It will be selected only at the file level. So what are the options that can be applied at the user level, file level or account level? So at the account level, you use hot and cool. At the file level, we have hot, cool, and archive, because archive is not applicable at the account level. It's only file level. That you need to remember that. It's simple, but just I'm example point of view, I'm reiterating that. So enable large file share. So suppose you want to enable large amount of files you want to share, that you will use tables and queues. So now I'm not using that, ignore that. Networking. So here public endpoint. So all networks I can use are public endpoints, only selected networks. Okay. In the sense like only the separate specific IPs you want to access. You want to limit the access, that you can do over here, but we'll explore the options in detail. Let me go with the public endpoint for today. Next, data protection. Enable point in time store for containers. So here data protection in the sense it's for the recovery, right? So enable soft delete. Soft delete is enabled to recover blobs that were previously marked for deletion, include blobs that were overwritten. So that itself says, like we have in the even the database point of view, we have two things, right? Soft delete and hard delete. So soft delete in the sense just they are marked for deletion, but they won't be deleted permanently. Even in our database also, every one of you worked on the database projects. If you remember that some of the records, some of the tables, you'll only do for the soft delete. You don't do the hard delete, right? So the same way here also soft deletes based on the data retention period, it will mark for delete, then it will be deleted permanently. If you don't do that, then it will be deleted permanently. And this is for the blobs. Even you can do for the container level also. Say suppose at the container level also you want to do the soft delete, that also you can do that. So I'll go for this beautiful option. And this is for the file shares when you use for the file, but I'm not using that. So let me remove that. And even I can track it also. Use versioning to automatically maintain previous version of blobs for recovery and restoration. So when I say enable versioning, so whenever I upload the file, same files, then it will versioning that. It will version so that I can track it. So tags, I don't use that. Let me do that. Now I have everything over here and it will run the validation. So once the validation is there, it's a green check, then I can create this. Now it will create this. So you can, in the bell icon, you can see whatever the deployment is, okay, because every resource is every resource will be deployed over here. So you can see the deployment is in progress. You can see the progress over here. So everything is kind of a deployment. So some of you already written some AZ900, right? In the previous session, you were telling that?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Purushottam.
Okay. So you have.
So I have gone through all these things. I
Yes.
use my 1 month subscription also, and that is expired.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So AZ900 also it will cover
Again, I
because of
have
the
to
storage
create
account.
some other credit card.
Yeah, credit card
In that
enabled.
also it is covered.
Yeah. So we have blob services. Okay, we have blob, security, networking, everything. So if you see here, hierarchical namespace is disabled, default access tier is cool. So what are the properties that you did, that you opted? All these things you will see here. File services queue. I don't have anything file queue table. I'm not using that. I'm using only for the blob. And here it will show security and also networking access, whatever you have. So in the next session, we'll see how to work with the networking, how to give the access only to the limited people. Okay. Now let me go with the container. So we have data storage, we have container, file share, queues and tables based on the property which will be used. Now I'm concerned only with the blob storage. I'll go for the containers.
Purushottam, can you tell me one more time again? What is hierarchical namespace?
So hierarchical namespace, it's a structure, storage structure in which it will create. So it will store the data. So it same like you are in the Windows, what you do, you'll create the folders. Under folders, you'll create subfolders. Then you will upload the files and all those things, right? So same way here also I can create the containers. Under the containers, I'll create the folders. Under the folders, I will create all the files and all. Okay, say suppose in the real time, what happens is that, say suppose I have multiple sources, like source 1, source 2, source 3. Otherwise, I'm accessing the data from multiple sources, saying that it's a real time data and batch data. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll create the container saying that real time container and the batch data container. Okay, and the batch data, say suppose the data is coming from the 3 sources. So what I'll do, I'll create the 3 folders saying that source 1, source 2, source 3. Again, under the source 1, based on the date, okay, I want to organize the data. So what I'll do, I'll create a date mechanism saying that 2020, I'll create a folder. Under the 2020, I'll create a folder something called September. Under September, I will load the data based on the date. Okay, based on the date, again I'll create the groups, because at one day I can get tons of files, right? So it's not limited to one file. Say suppose in one of the application, in one day you might need to ingest again around like 1000 files or 2000 files or 100 files or 10 files. So for that, what I will do, based on that requirement, I will design my namespace in such a way that so all the data will be stored based on the date level. Okay, that I can do. Say suppose I have some data, okay, which is coming for multiple countries. Say suppose the Pizza Hut is there. In the Pizza data is coming from India and US or Pakistan or Sri Lanka or European countries. So based on that, what I'll do, I'll say that pizza based on that, I'll create some container saying that India, Bangladesh, then Europe, or this one. Under that, I create again folder structure in such a way that 2020, then again 2020, again the September, under September again the date. Based on the date, it will all create all the files. Okay, so these are all the settings I will do, and these are all like not a manual configuration that will be doing that. Okay, so you'll design your pipeline in such a way that it will segregate the data. It will create those folders dynamically and store the data over there. Yeah, somebody was asking something. Hello, are you with me?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so based on the requirement I will design that. And when I say so suppose I'll create a container. I'll give that container access. Okay, here I'll create a container. Now the container is nothing but the first level of hierarchy, the first level of string that you can create over here. So see here, if you see here container, you need to upload the files directly over here. You don't see any folders over here. Okay, you don't see any folders here. But when you do ADLS, you can create a folder. Into that subfolders you can create. Then you can create the files under that. So here I'll upload a file, simple file. Let me see. You have any simple file? So let me see that. So upload. So this is there. So here I can create a file over here. I'll upload a file, and you can see here snapshots. I don't have any snapshots. So edit I can see because it's not a CSV, but you can see that if it's a CSV, you can see that the data records and all. I'll show what is generate SAS next session. And here, if you see here, change type, see here, you can change again to hot or archive. So if you see here, this is the file, I can see an option called archive. Okay, so that is the reason I was saying the archive option is available at the file level. Also, you can go back to your hot also. Say suppose as of loading this one, you want to see the hot, then you can do that. Okay, let me go for that option. First, you can delete, you can change tire, lease, whatever you want to do, that you can perform the operations. Getting? So that is how you can create that. And if you go here, Azure POC, So you can see all the containers. You can see geo replication. What are the geo replication which we have? Okay, used to use. So we have only LRS, right? Because if you have like geo redundant and all, it will show one more thing. Because it is a primary location, it is secondary region also, it will show based on this mapping. Okay, that you can see here in this. Okay, data protection. So I was saying what are the options we used. So that way you can see over here. Object replication. So I don't have any replication. Leave that. Yeah, this is a life cycle management. Usually what it will do, so everything will have a life cycle management. Okay, so based on that, you can create a life cycle management saying that based on the blob type, subtype, okay, what is the life cycle it has, like it has create, delete and all. So I'll show you that so that you can create this. But usually what we use is containers and networking is the important things that you can use. And resource health, you can use that resource health. So data migration, if you want to migrate the data, that you can see. Storage Express still its preview model because here you can see this. Okay. Apart from that, you have Azure Data Explorer, which is again you can install on your application, sorry, in your lab, in your system. Then you can connect to that. Then whatever you are showing here, right? Everything you can see over here. You can control the access. You can upload the file. You can download the file. Everything you can do over here using Azure Data Explorer. That is also one of the option you have. So that is usually that we use in the real-time application that we use that. Okay. So containers, you can upload or download the thing. Okay. Now let us see how does that happens when you go for the storage account. This one. So let me create a storage account again. Storage account. So give me a minute. Wait, give me a minute. Storage account name. We do GRS. So except one, everyone is new to Azure, right?
Yeah, yes. For sure.
Only one has exposure. Okay. So that is 10. Containers, we'll go for container. We'll create a container. Oh, I'm sorry for that. I did not check the box, right? Let me recreate that. I was about to create that this one. You can see all this one. So why I was not seeing that? What did I miss that? What did I miss? I was trying to create a data lake, but I missed something. What did I miss? Hello? Hello? Are you with
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Storage account.
What did I miss? Why I was not seeing that? Because I did not check this enable hierarchical namespace. I was trying to show that ADLS. I was trying to show you the ADLS, but I was unable to do that because I forgot that to check this box, which I was keep insisting to remember. Because when you do that, a blob becomes a data lake. That's what I was saying, right? What is the checkbox that you need to remember when you want to create a data lake storage Gen 2? Because that is the enable hierarchical namespace under the advanced.
So once we created the storage account, so can we update it, edit it, or no?
Based on your data. But we have when you have ADLS, then you of course you cannot make it back to your this one. But when you have blob, yes, you can make it to the ADLS.
Okay.
And tomorrow, today, when we meet tomorrow, I wanted every one of you to create an account, create a two storage. One is a blob, one is a ADLS. Okay, I wanted you to do that before coming tomorrow. It's a matter of 10 minutes, so you can spend some time and do that.
So the container will exist in the blob storage account, right?
Yes, container is the first level, which as I was showing that.
Okay. So in the container, we'll be having folders, right?
Yes, yes. See here, add directory. In the previous example, sorry, in the previous exercise which I was trying to show, I forgot to check that box. I don't see that add directory. You got it? So under the country again, I'll say date or India. Okay. So again, what I'll create, I will do US. Okay. In the US again, I will say 2021.
So in data lake Gen 2, we are getting the option to create a folder.
Directory. Yes.
But what about in blob storage? We won't get any.
There won't be any because it's a flat namespace. That was saying. Data lake supports a hierarchical storage namespace, whereas blob supports only flat storage namespace. That is the difference. Here you can create. So in the real time also, what you'll do, you'll create these things like containers within the container. Again, the files, everything you'll create, and you will organize the data. Okay, so apart from that, I also in the data lake, I wanted to talk about the zones. Okay, so whenever you ingest, so there will be in the storage mechanism. Okay, not only about the blob or data lake or anything, you will have something called zones. Okay, you will organize or you will plan something called zones. So we have raw zone, standardized zone based on the different. Some people based on the application, based on the requirement, the people calls it with the different names, but usually you have raw zone, standardized zone, and landing zone. Zones will be is kind of a logical grouping of the data. Okay, say suppose when you ingest the data, okay, when you ingest the data first time, what I will do, I will put everything as it is into the blob storage. Okay, so that is, I will say that a landing zone. I'll say landing zone. So in the landing zone, the name itself says that landing zone will have the data as it is coming from the source and landed into the storage. Okay, then once the data is there, it landed, what I will do, I will pick up the data. Okay, I will pick up the data and I will segregate based on the dates, and if I want to do some refinement, initial refinement, or say suppose I want to segregate the data based on the dates and all, I will put it into the raw zone. Okay, raw in the sense, pick up the data from the landing zone and put it over in another zone and segregated it. Okay, and do some initial refinement if you want to do that. Then raw zone, then standardized zone or transformed zone. Then you will do all the logical updation or logical transformation, whatever the transformation that you want to do on the data on that, okay, on the raw zone. Then you will load the data into the transformed zone. Okay, so say suppose in the example in here, so I will say a landing zone. Okay, so the data will be stored over here, landing zone. Okay, then I will store another data, another zone create called raw zone. I might create the raw zone over in the same container or different container or different account itself based on my requirement. Getting my point? And then I will create a standardized zone, whether I can create a standardized zone in the data lake itself, or I will load the data, all the standardized data in some other account, or I can say that standardized data will be present only in the Azure SQL, that will not be there in the data lake or storage account. Getting my point? So based on the requirement, you will usually segregate the data into the zones, and it is common for all the data engineering applications, all the cloud data engineering applications. So usually first you will design your zones, which are very important concept. You should know whether the real point of view, real time point of view or interview point of view. Okay, because the first question will be how do you organize the data? Then you say like landing zone, I have the raw zone, I have like transform zone. So when you ingest the data, first it will fetched and it will be stored in the landing zone. Then I'll do some initial transformation that I'll put in the raw zone, and then I will do transformation. I'll apply the transformation logic on the raw zone data. Then I will segregate the data, like group the data, aggregate the data. I'll put all conditions and rules, whatever I wanted to apply. Then I will load the data finally into the transform zone. That's how you would explain initially, which is very important to know. Any questions?
So this is what interview question.
So it can be interview question also. Yes, of course it's interview question, because when you say about tell about your project, people expect about the zones, because it's a basic thing that you need to plan before you start your project within your data engineering application.
And in real life, all these decisions taken by the developer or the
Architects.
management?
Architects. So some project might have like exclusive architects, or some places the developer himself or herself will take the decision based on the requirement. But usually every project will have a architect will design that. Then senior developers and developers will implement that. Senior developers implements the designs the logic. Then the developers will implement the actual implementation.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and the region which we are selecting for storage or for
Yes.
VM.
Yes.
Okay, so that is also taken a decision by developer, or that is also taken by the architect?
That's what I'm saying. Na? So
Okay.
some projects will have exclusive architects who will design everything. Okay. Then with the association, with the help of senior developers, then senior developers will plan the actual implementation. Then the developers will develop the application. So it depends upon the requirement. It depends upon the person.
Okay.
Getting? So zones are very important, which you need to remember.
Purushottam, I have one question.
Yes, please.
So, do we really need all these zones? I mean, let's say if I have a file in the landing zone, I can, using the pipeline activity, I can load whatever the data in the landing zone CSV file data into a staging table, and I can do operations from there and go on, right?
The say that staging itself is a raw zone.
Stage. Oh, okay. Staging table you are saying is a raw zone.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. No, it's a logical thinking what we do. We don't
Oh.
use staging. Staging is a raw zone, I can say here.
So then landing zone is the storage account folder, and raw zone is the database table staging.
No, that's what I'm saying. It can be a database, it can be a data lake based on the design of your application. So landing is the first time when it comes, where it is landing, where we are storing the data, that's the landing zone. Then once you land the zone, you will put it in the raw zone. So whether the raw zone can be your database, a raw zone can be your data lake itself, based on the design.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but usually the raw zone, visually in the data engineering application, you will maintain all this in the data lake only because of the cost or efficiency and usage, the design. It involves many things.
So this is only a terminology, like for explaining purpose. That's it.
A terminology, even if you're really using that in the data lake, you will create the folder structure container saying that landing, raw, transformation zone. Then you'll create the names also. You'll create the container with those names also. Depends. Sometimes you may not use those names, just logical, which I was saying. But most of the time you'll use the zone names also. Depends.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah, clear. Good.
So I was saying blob ADLS. So blob is like general purpose data storage, container based, available in every Azure region, local and global redundancy. Processing performance is very limited. But when you when you tick on that checkbox and make it into the data lake, then because of the storage capacity, storage mechanism, it is very good for big data analytics. Like you can data scientists can connect to that and they can quickly get the data, they can transfer data, they can do very easily. And also hierarchical namespace on the blob storage, which I was showing, is one of the advantage. And it is also available in every region, the same redundancy feature. And also apart from the ADLS, because it's built on blob storage, it also supports blob storage features. Okay, and multiple Azure integrations. We have Azure integrations which it supports and compatible with Hadoop data. There is something called Hadoop, which is like a MPP structure. So it supports that as well. Okay, so when I say a storage account, which I was showing, a storage account is not limited to anything, a single container or anything. Storage account is a container that groups a set of Azure storage services. A storage account can have blob, files, queues, and Azure. And a storage account can have multiple blobs, multiple queues, multiple files, tables. It all depends. So storage account is not limited to a simple one container or one file. Storage container is collection of the blobs, files, anything. So that's what I'm saying is right. In the previous example which I was showing, I has created multiple folders in one container, multiple containers I can create in one storage account, right? Yeah. So data lake. So if you see that how powerful the data lake is, so it's almost compared with the data warehouse. In the data warehouse, is collection of data cleansing, data transformation, everything will be done. Get the data, transfer the data, and put it in the data warehouse. From there, the subsequent systems will consume the data. In the same way, in the data warehouse also, from multiple sources, you get the data, store the data. Okay. Then the subsequent applications like data science or Cloudera or another clouds or another data scientist or Power BI reporting users will consume the data in the data lake. Okay, so data lake and data warehouse. So see how powerful the data lake. It's just a storage mechanism, but in the real-time application, it's so powerful that so it almost like occupies like a 67. It almost handles 60-70% of storage mechanism, and it will be very useful for subsequent applications to use. Okay, so tomorrow we'll see how do we access the data, how do we control the access, how do network access, okay, control the network and access at a file level, a storage level. Then we will start with the introduction to data factory. All right, any doubts so far? Okay, if you get any doubts, feel free to mail me or put it in that message group or here in the chat window also you can put that. Okay, that's all for today, and